Warning. The following video contains strong language that some viewers may find offensive or disturbing.
Sex shop and sex workers of Reddit, what are some of the best examples or clients not knowing how anatomy, sex works? I once spent 20 minutes desperately trying to get a guy to buy enough lube after he told me that his girlfriend insisted that he get some. Because his initial attempt was him spitting on his dick and shoving it in her ass. I'm a salesperson, but I'm just being kind when I tell people to buy more than they think they need. He blew off my advice and bought a $1 foil packet of lube. I worked at a sex shop for like 3 years, and the thing that irked me the most were people who were willfully ignorant about lube. Even after I'd explain why it's good for you, they'd be like, "Nah, that's for old ladies, for either anal or vaginal sex. It's there to reduce friction and make it more comfortable, safe." Many men and women have this misconception that if a woman cannot produce enough moisture on her own, then there's something seriously wrong with her. It's actually very common for women of all ages to use lubricant from time to time. Either because they're nervous, inexperienced, having very rough sex, or because their bodies simply don't produce that much. It would hurt me to think of all the women, especially inexperienced ones, getting their canals just fucking shredded because men or other women are shaming them for needing lube. Working there taught me that a surprising amount of people are very stupid, selfish lovers. Be careful out there, folks. In the shop I work at, I get a lot of women who are curious about Kegel, Benoit balls, but wonder what happens if they get lost in their vagina. I always gently explain that, well, that's not possible. Or at least highly unlikely. There's always questions about anatomy. But we just do our best to inform people. I had a guy who wanted to meet up for full service. But said he didn't want me to be disappointed by how small his dick was. He said, "Don't worry though, I'll bring a banana for us to use so you'll still be satisfied." Single quote, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. I worked at a local sex shop last summer. Women always asked help from me because the only other person working was a guy. They wanted some sex toy but didn't know exactly what. I would usually ask something along the lines of, "What makes you come easier? Clitoral stimulation or something inserted in you?" I was there only for 2 weeks, and during those 2 weeks, at least 7 women said, "Oh, I've never had an orgasm so I don't know." Most of them were women under 25, but the oldest was around 35 to 40 and married. That poor woman. When I worked in a sex shop, lots of guys would come in looking for a gift for their female S. Oh, I would often ask them if they were looking for a toy with clitoral or G-spot stimulation. The number of guys who looked at me blankly and went, "What is clitoral? I just want something to put in her," or a version of that statement, never failed to surprise me. Sex shop worker here. I answered a call from a man who had purchased a sounding device. It goes in your urethra if you didn't know. He couldn't get it out. I asked him if he'd used lube and he told me no and that it was starting to hurt. He asked if he should yank it. I just had to tell him to contact his doctor. I hope he got it out. Customers firmly placing their thumb above my pubic bone. Not moving it. Watching me have literally no reaction. And then believing that they brought me to orgasm by doing that. I managed porn stores to get myself through college. One of the girls I felt most sorry for was a chubby girl, no hate here, who said no one would go down on her and she wanted to know what oral sex was like. I pointed her to a lil pink butterfly toy that had battery-operated suction. I gave her a handful of free lube samples to go with it and wished her luck. She came back to the store later that same night. Toy in the bag, I sent it home in. She was upset and wanted a refund because she said the butterfly was very uncomfortable. I quickly told her all sales final. And then asked questions. So, the girl had inserted the hard plastic butterfly, suction side in. She had no idea that she had a clitoris above her vaginal opening that could bring her to orgasm. I sent her on her way with some education and more lube samples. I didn't see her again though, so let's call that a win? Adult store employee here. It's mostly men not realizing the difference between a standard butt plug and a prostate massager. Coming up with a prostate massager and asking if it's a good plug for their girl. Then me explaining how it's for biological men and then having to explain further how they themselves have a P-spot in their ass. Also, with dongs and some rabbit-style vibrators. The material is a non-body safe TPE/TPR. It is porous and holds bacteria which can cause infections and is recommend use with a condom. Seriously, please invest in high-quality toys. I know money is tight sometimes, but you shouldn't risk your health for an orgasm. It isn't worth it. Never worked there, but when I was 16 I worked next door to one. I was outside most of the day loading mulch, and around noon every day I would see 5 to 6 white-collar workers walk in for 5 to 10 minutes and walk out with nothing. Time went by, and when I turned 18 found out they were spanking it in the DVD testing room. Well, it was common to ask guys buying stuff for their girlfriends if their girl was a clit, G-spot, or both kind of girl. Most of the time they didn't know. It was phone sex. But the guy fucking ... I spent 3 hours describing to him how a girl would pee in the woods. Whether he knew or not is beside the point. 3 hours describing it while trying to be horny at the same time. Dudes are wild sometimes. Squatting. Not that difficult of a concept. I don't want a vibrator. Those loosen your vagina. Sometimes I got people who didn't want anal toys because they had that fear. Which isn't true, by the way, the muscles just are conditioned to relax more. But this was a mother coming in and saying this. One more, I had a daytime regular named Terry, this was 20 years ago. But I'll never forget this old guy's name. He would stop by for 10 minutes. Grab a VHS from the bargain bin and attempt to flirt with me while checking out. One day I noticed Terry is in the male enhancement section and he's been there a minute. I wander back and ask if he has questions. He is holding a penis pump and very seriously asks if I could handle something that big. I laughed out loud, that usually shut down any advances. But Terry kept at it. He told me there were obviously women who could handle it or we wouldn't sell them. Then Terry told me that his dick no longer got hard. But if he were able to keep suction on it while he put the toy, himself, inside a vagina, that just might work. He never came back into the store after his purchase that day. Maybe it worked? Or maybe some woman killed him for trying to shove a fucking penis pump inside her. This doesn't quite count, but kind of. Before the twist ending. So I worked in a sex shop when I was 18. They had a staff party, and being the new recent hire, I had to stay and maintain the shop. Fair enough. Senior may, junior must. I get this girl come in at like 10:30. Half hour before closing. She wants a dildo but says she's never bought one before and needs assistance. Sure. I mean, I hadn't even owned one myself, but I had been there a month or so and had read the packaging while stalking, so I knew a bit. Also, we were encouraged to look up sex toy related articles on the work computer during slow periods, so okay. We go over. She says she's looking for something without vibration as that doesn't do much for her. Straight up dildo. So I show her a few but she's not interested. Bigger. She says. My ex was big and I need something similar. I miss him. Okay, so we go bigger. I'm pointing out 7-inch dicks and whatnot and she's like, no. Bigger. So I point out a honking 8-inch one. She sighs and hems and haws and then says, no. Bigger. What about this one? Near the bottom of the rack was something with a name relating to a horse. I can't remember the actual name. It was like an 11.5-inch long dildo. Not only is that most certainly a fetish thing and definitely not something her ex had. This girl was like 5 feet and 100 pounds. But that's what caught her eye. So me, being all professional but internally thinking, bitch, you wanna die? I explain to her the size and the girth and give her a light warning of potential medical hazards if used improperly. She breaks out laughing. And then my bosses walk in. Turns out she worked there as well, but since we were a one-person staffed establishment, I had never met her. She was sent in as a joke. her phone on the whole time so the owners could hear what I did when this tiniest chick asked for a horse cock. So when I was like 15 I was in a knife, smoke, sex shop and some dude was in the sex part of the shop and he was buying a dildo and kept asking if it was long enough to reach his girlfriend's clit and how deep inside a woman is her clit, and I was like, honey, how are you 30-something years old not knowing what a clit is? I can return this, right? You guys can just clean it and put it in a new package or whatever. If the industry worked like that, everyone would have hepatitis. Gross. No. I received this blow-up doll as a joke gift. And for a joke I blew it up and tried to fuck it. But it's really uncomfortable and doesn't feel realistic at all. It's just for a joke though, so I really don't want it anyway. I would never use it. I just, tested it. As a joke. Sure, buddy, sure. One blessed girl. Studying the bondage rope with a furrowed brow and tiny frown. How do you get the guy's cock inside you with all the rope tied around it? Try this premium brand of lube. What kind of porn are you watching? Exactly, my partner wants a toy. But I'm insecure with the idea of them fucking a piece of silicone that doesn't look like my crotch. Look at this photo of my genitalia and help me find something to match. They always had genital warts. And they always ended up buying either the tiny teen pocket pussy with no discernible labia, or the 11 inches ramrod with huge juicy balls. How we delude ourselves. A memorable old guy who walked with a cane and paid for his bi-weekly $2 $5 DVDs with hundreds and only hundreds. I want to see close-ups of pussies, but I want your guarantee that there will be no visible anus in any shot in this film. If you won't guarantee that I won't see something I won't like, I will never shop here again. If you're not willing to get within 3 of a butthole even in your fantasies, you're never going to. Oh, I see why you need the porn. Very obviously 30 plus, yo dude. Sobbing openly, my mom will murder me if she finds out I bought a dildo. Please help me find something I can put in my ass without her knowing. I sold him an Anaros plug. But I'm concerned about why his mom had such vigilant access to his butthole. Countless dudes buying black rhino pills. This is supposed to make your dick bigger and let you fuck way longer. Countless women buying numbing lube, spray, cream. This is supposed to make his dick feel smaller and make it so you can get it over with way faster. Anyone shopping for a Hitachi. I heard these will make your clit die, go numb, lose nerves, fall off. They all bought one eventually anyway. I have a regular client who keeps asking me to finger my urethra. I've never even done sounding. That's not something people just do. No prep. I dunno if this counts. But I once had a gay man call and explain that after having anal sex, his butt started feeling weird, and said he thought he could feel worms moving around and legitimately wanted to know what to do. I have an anatomically correct dongbonji posted a cheeky video of myself using it on my Snapchat. A gentleman messaged me to register his disappointment that I had not used my vagina to smoke from it. I'm still not sure if he was joking or not. I was honestly too scared to ask. Sex worker here. The amount of clients who ask me how many times I came from some thirsty jackhammer fucking for 2 minutes are laughable. Baby, if I came you would definitely know it. A friend of mine is a doctor. I'm not entirely sure what her previous role was, but she would basically help people with sex-related difficulties. One day she was helping a couple who had been unsuccessfully trying for a baby. She got them to describe what steps they normally took and the man ended up explaining how he would come into her belly button. Client was a middle-aged, married man. Kept hassling for no condom and I kept refusing. He asked why I wouldn't do it because surely I'm on a tablet to stop myself getting pregnant. I explained that condoms were important in protecting against STDs. He literally did now know what an STD was. I spent a while explaining to him and he started to worry that his wife would find out he was seeing sex workers because he hadn't been using condoms. He said, so if I catch something, my wife could get it too? I work in a lingerie, sex shop and wow. I didn't realize how many people lack a basic understanding of things in general. First thing that springs to mind is a woman who kept breaking a couple's toy shaped like a U so women can wear it internally during intercourse, and it'll also sit on the clitoris by using it like a crab claw to pinch her clitoris. She must have returned 3 of these by the time we figured out what the hell she was doing. I also once had a gentleman tell me we were scamming people by making them think the G-spot was a real thing. I assured him that as a woman it was very much real, but he wouldn't budge and just stood there with his unhappy-looking wife telling me doctors had proved it was a myth. Another weird thing is the amount of people that want to buy a bullet vibrator to stick in their asshole. Do not do this, instead of a butt plug. People who want to use Dettol spray or a dishwasher to wash their sex toys instead of buying a cleaning spray, and men that show up to buy a bra and then look shocked when they realize they need to know their other half's bra size. I have one in reverse. I went into a sex shop in a gay area of Sydney. I explained to the guy that I hadn't really used a dildo before. I'm a guy, and he suggested a rabbit dildo. I told him I don't have a clitoris that needs stimulating, and he just went silent and didn't suggest any more dildos. I could understand him thinking it was for a girlfriend, but I was in a gay area and explained to him it was for me. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and hit the notification button. See you next time.